I have an idea. Oh, it went away. Oh, there it is. Oh, it went away again. Oh, wait. Quick, before it changes its mind. Let's do another episode of the Pirate Carpenter Show, shall we? We're here in the back bedroom of our project house. As you can see, we've torn off. It actually had shiplap siding. If you look over here, it had this kind of shiplap siding on the inside of the building all the way around. That's not typical for this period of house. I suspect this was a storage room or something at some point. They didn't usually put the shiplap siding on the inside of the house because it was terrible to plaster to. They would plaster over lathing strips, usually 1/4 inch thick lathing strips. There are a couple other issues with the house we can look at back here that we're going to take care of, obviously. Usually you don't want 3 feet between the studs, so we're going to take care of that. You can see this back area here. For some reason the studs are unusually far apart, so we'll take care of that. And you'll also notice there's no top plate across the top. In this particular case, it wasn't necessary for them because it was just a storage room, and they have that nice shiplap siding on the outside to hold the wall together, so there's no need for a top plate, but we'll take care of that as well. If we point the camera down over here, can you? If we look down here, what you're looking at there is basically, this is another aspect of some of the old style framing they did. The problem there is that they didn't bother to run the shiplap all the way down because they had the shingles were going to cover it, and they trusted the shingles, and you know, the shingles worked, but it's nice to have a barrier. If you come a little bit over here and look too, you can see we're down into the wall. There's no bottom plate because they put the bottom plate in with the floor joists. So actually a lot of times that's open all the way down into the crawl space, which that's not a great way to do that. So we'll fix that as well. We'll take some video of fixing that. My other favorite thing, the main complaint we've had about this particular room, if we can shoot a picture now of this, as you can see, the ceiling was unusually low, and you can see why now. There's a full foot down below, and there was really no attempt to make a solid structural thing. They just scabbed a couple of nails into this 2x4, and then they made that be the ceiling. So it's actually a pretty easy fix. You frame it correctly and put the rafters up there on top of the wall where they belong and run that across, and all of a sudden you have normal height room just like the rest of the house. So that'll be another thing we'll shoot a picture of, shoot some video of. And as you can see, this is also, because it was a storage room, this is the only room that didn't get rewired correctly, so when we pull our electrical permit, we'll do a little extra work in here along with a couple other things. One last thing, we figured out, see, for some reason or other, this big hole down here under the wall, that draft was okay, but a little bit of draft around the windows was not okay, so they stuffed it full of newspaper. And as you'll see, it's actually kind of handy to know when they did this particular addition, because we know the house itself was built in 1920. This is a Tacoma News Tribune from 1967. September, actually. As you can see, applesauce, Skookum applesauce, 8 Skookum applesauces for 99 cents. Quite a bargain. Okay, so let's take a tour of the outside now, see all the work that we've done out here. You see this pile of lumber? This came out of the room that we just showed you inside. We were thinking about putting it in the organics dumpster because they will take it, nails and all, but I'm thinking I'm going to change my mind and maybe make firewood out of it. As you can see, the Manimals Landscaping Service, as you look across here, has got us stripped down to where we need to cover the dirt with something, but at least it's opened up and we can see what there is to work with. We can see where the holes in the landscape are. We're going to probably put rhododendrons in there. And come this way. I don't know if last time if he had the various retaining walls. I guess we're going to call them retaining walls, if he had those uncovered or not. You can call them retaining walls because technically I guess they are retaining things, but actually it looks kind of just like people dump garbage in a line, so probably someday we'll change that. Yeah. And Beth has been working hard at putting ivy in the garbage can because we're not allowed to put it in the organics. And Manimal made quite a pile of ivy. Our new walkway, free lumber I pulled off of another house, somebody else's house. Lumber that was just going to be wasted up in an attic. Uh-oh, another landscaper. Oh, she's uncovered more bricks, huh? Bricks everywhere. Ah, terrible. So, much more open, as you can see. We're starting on our firewood pile over there. Things are starting to come into blue. You can see the forsythia here. If you come this way, you can see where we've torn the porch off. Not really a whole lot to say. We tore the porch off, it's gone. We're going to do something different until we can get a permit to do it right. And you can see the kind of crazy siding along the bottom. That's we did a whole bunch of work underneath the house where we cleaned out all the old stuff and spread out new plastic and got rid of the insulation that had fallen down on the ground, just hauled it away. And so we're gearing up for the plumber to come in and redo some of the piping underneath. So I think that's probably it, huh? So I thought we'd take a check in on our project house. We did quite a bit of work on the kitchen and discovered some things. So first thing I wanted to show you is there was some siding that some paneling, plywood paneling, that cheap paneling that they nailed around the bottom to kind of fix some holes in the sheetrock to cover up the holes. And they put some trim over the seams in the paneling, and apparently they didn't want to buy any trim, so they used a pink yardstick from the local Chevy dealer, and the address is not where the Chevy dealer is, so it's obviously kind of an old one. The other thing I found when I was tearing the cabinets out was this wonderful piece of old vinyl flooring, which I can guarantee you is from the 1920s by the pattern I'm seeing right here. Interestingly enough, I don't think this was ever the flooring for the house. It was used as a shim to hold out a stick on the cabinets. If it's cool enough, I think we like it. We would have left it if it was the actual flooring for the house, but I think it's just a scrap somebody had laying around. So we had the plumber come in and put in some new pipes where the plumbing is going to go now. We'll have the sink under a window like you would normally expect instead of over on the wall. A nifty thing that he did, this particular pipe here is actually a hose bib poking out on the other side. But the last time that this house has been repiped at least twice, and the last time they did it, they disconnected 2 of the 3 hose bibs on the outside. So he put me a new one in here, and he will hook it to the plumbing underneath the sink once he trims everything out. Now you'll notice there's 3 drains here. The bottom 2 are for each bowl of a 2-bowl sink. This one here is for because this is a remodel, I wish I could remember the correct name, but there's an undercounter vent with a check valve on it that allows you to get away without putting a vent stack all the way up to the roof. And you have to have the vent so that there's air behind it to let the water drain out. As you'll see, if you look down here, good dog. If you look down here, you notice I've screwed some plywood against the wall. We're finding that pretty much throughout the house, when they were putting the skirting on around the outside, they'd knocked the bottom one of these boards out. And so when you open up the wall, there's literally a slot you can stick your hand through and stick your fingers outside. So pretty much I think as we go around and do repairs around the house, we're going to start opening it up and fixing all of those. The other thing I discovered that's kind of interesting that you can sort of see here. Oh yeah, there we go. That's a good picture. I'd never seen sheetrock on a house of this age before. What this is 1/4-inch sheetrock. You can see the edge of it right there. It's absolutely useless. It's so thin that it's absolutely useless. You can poke your finger right through it. In places it's still okay, it looks all right, but in this particular case, since we've already done some work and we know there's probably some holes down at the bottom we'd like to fix, I'm going to tear all of this sheetrock off and go ahead and fur out the wall 2 inches to put modern insulation, 5.5 inches insulation in this wall. Since we're already doing the work anyway, it's not that hard to do. If you look over here, you'll see in this corner here is where we had our 3 square feet of countertop and cabinets. Thought it would be interesting to show you how they used to do cabinets. This, if you'll notice here, let me set that aside. This was the floor of the cabinet, and if you'll notice, that's basically leftover 2x4s from inside the wall. This is leftover skip sheeting from the wall construction. That was the floor of the cabinet. Over here, there's another floor of the cabinet right there, same stuff. Over here we had some of the sides of the cabinet, which if you look at it, was the flooring leftover flooring from when they floored the house. So essentially they took whatever was left over from the house and nailed it together into cabinets. You can't fault their efficiency. Made for some really ugly cabinets, but by the same token, it didn't cost anything except the labor of the guy nailing it together. So this is kind of cool. I'll show you how these old wooden casement windows, a lot of people don't realize how they work. I pulled the trim off of that was on here because we're going to pull the sheetrock off and fur it all out. But you'll see the pulley and a counterweight right there. And that's what allows you to then slide the window up. Oh, I've had that one open before. Damn it. There we go. So you see the pulley and the counterweight there. That's what allows you to roll the window up and down. And you can see that go. Now what I discovered that I did not know, if you look in there, there's another pulley. If you can see that back there, can you see the second pulley? There's another pulley with a rope and another counterweight in there. So there's two of these things.
Okay, I can see it.
See that? Okay. And what that second one is for, is kind of nifty, is so that this top panel here can actually slide down. They've got the rope going up this way from the bottom of it so they can slide the window down. Now the reason we couldn't tell that is because they've got so many layers of paint holding the thing shut. There's no way to know that it was that kind of window until I opened it up and saw the second pulley. So eventually when we go to redo the windows, I'll cut the paint loose and repaint everything nice so that both move the correct direction they're supposed to. The nice thing about furring out the wall is that when I put everything back, I can put 2 inches of foam board on here so that we don't have this open, cold air, basically uninsulated spot of the thing. It'll only bring it to like an R10, but by the same token, it's better than an R2, which is what it is right now. I think that's probably all I've got for the kitchen right now. I'm sure we'll find something to do for our next segment. Hey everybody, today we're going to do a segment we're going to call Don't Be a Knucklehead. We like to do this. So today I want to talk about old houses in general. This is an old house, and what you find in old houses is lead paint and asbestos. And it's like the rocks come with the farm, the asbestos and the lead paint come with the house. You're going to find asbestos in gypsum products, sheetrock, plaster, insulation type products around pipes and wires and so on. It's a nasty business in that if you break it up and get it airborne, it will get into your lungs and it won't ever come back out again. With lead paint, you'll see lead paint is going to be, in a lot of cases, several layers down. This is the original, then you got 3 different colors been painted over that. Probably that top one's perfectly safe. These ones under here probably have lead paint. Wash your hands and wear gloves, okay? Check with your local regulators as to how you're supposed to deal with these things. If you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, after you've educated yourself, for goodness sakes, pick up the phone and call for some help, okay? There's professionals out there that are specifically designed to do this, okay? The lead paint is a neurotoxin. You want to make sure not to, it can actually just contact with your skin is a bad idea. In general, it's usually sealed under some newer paint that's safe. But again, if you've got a concern about it, if you've got little kids in the house, you should probably have it tested and so on. You don't necessarily have to have it tested. You can pretty much assume if it's an old house, the old paint is lead and all of the plaster has some asbestos, and the old flooring, a lot of the vinyl flooring products had asbestos in them. So this has been Don't Be a Knucklehead. In other words, if you think there's probably asbestos there, don't take your saw and cut on it while doing deep breathing exercises, getting all of that dust into your lungs, okay? And that, at the very least, don't do that. Best case scenario is educate yourself and make sure you get some help if you can't handle it yourself, okay? Thanks a lot. This has been the Pirate Carpenter Show. Come check in with us in, a week or 2 or whenever we come back.